And we are live. Good morning, everybody. If you're joining us in North America, good day wherever you are in the world. Starting to see some people coming into our room slowly but surely. There we go. If you're just coming in and joining us, please feel free to jump into the chat right away. Welcome to How to Establish Your Brand and Career. Tell us where you're from. Tell us a little bit about you. We'd love to get to know you. And we encourage you guys to network among one another. Share your LinkedIn URL. This is a great way of getting to know a lot of people really, really fast and in a really fun way. My name is Mike Bird. I'm joined by the fantastic lady in the awesome glasses, Diana YK Chan, and the gentleman with the great mustache is David Mendoza.
Yeah.
There we go. And we are so excited to be here. We're going to get going in just a couple of minutes here, waiting for a few more people to join us. So just to kind of give you guys a bit of a rundown here on how this day is going to play out, Diana, David, myself, we're going to have a conversation. I'm going to kind of moderate, facilitate, and participate at the same time. We're going to discuss some questions around the key issues pertaining to how to establish a brand and career. And we are going to welcome and answer your questions. In the second half of the show, we've left plenty of time for Q&A. And we are excited to hear some of the specific issues you may be facing and weigh in. We're three different people. We have three different backgrounds, three different very rich stories in our lives and professional careers. We're very excited to share and just be of service to you guys today. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, we're seeing people typing in the chat room here.
Yes.
Yeah, I see people from Colombia. Andrea. Oh, I know Andrea. Hello, Andrea.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us from
Yes,
Colombia.
so many. I recognize some familiar faces. Yeah.
Toronto,
Super
Jackie.
cool.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. India, Finland. Wow.
Wow,
Amazing.
Finland and India.
Love it. The whole world coming in.
Yeah, I
It's the
recognize
beauty of events.
Barb, Aubrey, Thomas. I recognize some names. Kimberly. Yes. Hello, everyone.
Toronto, a little
Italy.
more local.
Italy. We have someone from Italy.
Amazing.
It's phenomenal.
That is so cool.
Philadelphia represent.
Tom Misnick, how's it going?
Yeah. Awesome.
Montreal, San Diego. Wow, we have people from all over the world. That's amazing.
Amazing.
Thank you for taking the time to join us, guys.
Yes, this is special. If you guys are here today, it means that you are serious about yourself, about your career, and we would like to just honor that energy and really be with you in support of your journey. It's a long road for a lot of us to kind of get to the points where we feel like we're really kind of clicking on all cylinders when it comes to job search or building our careers. And it doesn't have to be lonely. We are here to be with you and be of service. So cool. Diana, do you want to kind of kick us off a little bit? I know you have a couple of questions you'd like to put in front of our audience as they continue to roll in.
Yeah. So what I would like to do is find out which one best describes you. So the first one here is, are you a student or new grad? Or are you a newcomer? Are you a career changer? Or are you in transition trying to figure out what's next? So if you can just click on that and for us to see these results, it'll be great. So we have about, let me see here, 50%. Wow, student, new grad. Whoa, 10% newcomers, and then about 13% career changers, and then the rest is 30% in transition, trying to figure out what's next. Okay, I'm sorry, the results change now. About 38% student, new grad, career change, 14% newcomer, 10%, and then the 40% in transition. Okay, so that transition could be either, they recently lost a job, trying to figure out what to do next there. Okay, awesome. So that's really helpful to know. So we have another poll here. We want to find out, what are you most interested in learning about today? Is it how to pivot into a new industry or profession or market, or how to brand and market and sell yourself effectively, or how to network effectively? So if you can take a moment just to indicate that, that will help us gauge the direction of our conversation as well. All right, you guys see the results too?
Totally.
Okay,
very neat. Big voice around the branding piece.
Yeah, 60% how to brand, market, sell yourself. The next is how to pivot, 25%. And the remainder is how to network effectively. All right, interesting. So this is great. We're going to talk more about the branding piece there. Okay, awesome. Fantastic. Very helpful. Thank you so much, guys.
So one last final housekeeping point before we go into our intros. If you have a question that you'd like to have us answer in the later part of the show, please mark that appropriately. There's a little question marker that goes in when you're typing into the chat. It allows us to see your questions in a separate window so we can address them and not lose them. Chat windows and events like these can become pretty hectic, and we encourage that to happen. But we also want to be able to answer your questions. So make sure that you are tagging them appropriately and we will get to them. That is our promise to you. So Diana,
can I clarify it? It's actually Q&A mode. So for those
Q&A mode,
it says Q&A mode. So if you just click on it from chat mode to mark as Q&A mode, it will submit to the Q&A queue, and I'll be able to look at those as well.
Lovely, nice.
Yeah,
exciting, cool.
All right,
Diana, why don't we start with you? Talk a little bit about your story in terms of career development and who you help serve.
Awesome. All right. So hello, everyone. My name is Diana YK Chan. I'm a former recruiter turned career coach, speaker, and trainer at MyMarkability. And I help mid to senior level professionals and executives to find a meaningful career, navigate change, and differentiate as top talent to get hired and earn more. So I'm an expert at helping you differentiate your unique brand value, master your messages, and own your greatness with confidence in networking. So in terms of a little bit about my career transition story, I actually moved here to Canada all by myself when I was 16. Didn't know anyone at all. And I made some massive career transitions upon graduation, where I worked in a new grad development program, working in operations, marketing, and training. And then I made a big pivot going into management consulting after my MBA. And then a few years later, I made another big pivot, becoming a recruiter. I was the first and only recruiter here in Google Canada to help them double their office size. And then after that, I decided to start my dream business as a speaker, trainer, and career coach.
Amazing. You're such an inspiration. Your story of coming to Canada, Diana, and I know you were speaking not that long ago. I saw on LinkedIn just your story about how you actually were working so hard to master English, to really get to overcome shyness. These are parts of people's journeys that I know there's a lot of people here that can resonate with what you shared then. I'm excited to hear more about that as we go through this. David, how about you?
Thanks, Mike, and thanks, Diana, for sharing your story. My name is David Mendoza. I'm a Toronto-based educator. I moved to Canada in the year 2006, so it's been 14 years since I came and moved to this amazing, beautiful land called Canada. I am the director of Orbit 5, which is a learning initiative that prepares international students and newcomers to transition smoothly into life in Canada so that they can thrive in their academic and career endeavors. I do career coaching. I've worked as well in culinary tourism. I'm a professor on a part-time basis at George Brown College, where I teach career growth related courses. And in terms of transition, I can relate to what Diana said, because my biggest life transition was coming to Canada as a newcomer. Before that, I had a chance to go to the UK to improve my English in the early 2000s. But I knew that I was going to go back home in Colombia to finish my degree. So the big life transition was coming to this country. And in terms of career, I'm going to say that the biggest big transition was moving from working for the college in a full-time basis into running Orbit 5 and creating my own business initiative. I had the passion, I had the drive, I had the experience, but I didn't know anything about how to run a business. So I had to overcome a lot of challenges. I had to learn from a lot of people. I had to learn a lot of things and unlearn a lot of things too. So I'm going to say that's definitely my biggest career transition so far.
So cool. Both David and Diana have been on a show that I am a co-host of a podcast for, and we'll talk about more on that a little bit later. But these are two phenomenal people, and I'm just so excited to be jamming out with both of you today. Thank you for sharing your stories. My name is Mike Bird. I am the founder of a brand called Coach Oiseau Career Coaching. Oiseau is French for the word bird, my last name, and that is kind of a good hint as to where my story is rooted. I live in Montreal, Quebec. I'm not originally from this city. I grew up in English Canada and came here as a student for university. I was very, very blinded by the fact that throughout my time in university, I was not aware of the culture and the real importance of language here in Quebec, which is so different from the rest of Canada. And when I left university soon after, I realized, man, if I really want to stay here and build a career in just about anything, I need to really get this language down and understand the culture of the place that I'm in. And so I went away from Montreal, which is a very vibrant multicultural city, and into a smaller Quebec town called Trois-Rivières, Three Rivers. About 110,000 people, about 109,500 of them speak French and not much else. And it was the perfect place for me to go out and really discover myself, continue to do something that I love and still do, which is coach and work with elite athletes. I've been coaching for a long time, but that journey through a new place and a new space and discovering myself and learning how to listen to a lot of other people before jumping in has brought me to this place where I love to just help people now develop their careers with a lot of the same skill set that I used back when I was in Three Rivers. So super humbling to be with you guys today. And it's amazing how our journeys start from so far away, but then converge onto something like this. Cool.
And we all connected through the magic of LinkedIn, right? Not too long ago, maybe, less than 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
It's quick, right? The with a little bit of intention and focus, how much progress you can actually make in terms of building real relationships with real people.
Yeah.
Cool. Shall we get started? Let's talk a little bit about some of the biggest challenges that people who are in kind of the three different phases that we've discussed so far are in. And they're similar, right? Establishing your career as a new grad, establishing your career in a new space, or transitioning into a new industry vertical. Diana, let's start with you. What are some of the big challenges you see people dealing with?
Yeah, so I'm going to take that perspective. I work with a lot of career changers, especially those who mid to senior level professionals who've been at the same company for like at least, like say, over a decade with 15, 20 years experience. And one of the biggest challenges I see is oftentimes when professionals have been in the same industry for quite some time, the same company, it's like they don't know what they don't know, right? So that's the lack of understanding of what the possibilities are. Right. So as a result, there is that fear of like, can I actually make that change? Can I be successful? So there's that one piece. And then the second is really, I would say, the lack of clarity, right? Based on because of the lack of understanding, the clarity is like, what is it that I really, really want there? And the third piece is I consider is because they haven't had to look for a job for quite some time, there's that lack of strategy. How do I really approach the job search that will make it effective there? And I've seen this working with a lot of executives as well. Like very, I consider like really, I respect them so much, so powerful. And when it comes to even their, what I call the messaging, right? The lack of messaging of their story, it feels awkward talking about themselves, even though they have like an amazing track record of success there. So those are some of the common challenges that I see. And a big part, to be honest, it is really going, digging deep in knowing who you are and being confident in the value that you have to offer there.
I'd like to add to what Diana just said now, to tie in the last word that you mentioned before you wrapped up, confidence, right? That's another challenge that I see a lot, especially, for example, when international students or newcomers are coming to Canada or the US or Australia or the UK, whatever they're going. A lot of them decide to do career changes for strategic reasons, for immigration purposes, because they want to do something new and exciting. And one of the challenges that I see a lot is the lack of confidence, precisely, because they think, okay, so I have built experience in my home country for 5, 10, 20 years, and I want to pivot into something else. And I'm not sure if I have the skills or the abilities to do so. You do have the abilities and the skills. You just have to start thinking about how you can transfer those elements that you bring from your previous background to make contributions or to add values into your new field, right? So lack of confidence is something I see a lot. And also because many people and even society tells you, if you are changing careers, if you come from a different background, you are at a disadvantage. I think quite the opposite. You have a full advantage. You can bring so much to the table because you can bring something that other people don't have, right? Yeah. So it's building that confidence to make sure that your career move is thought out, is strategic, that is aligned with your values and with your mission and what you want to accomplish and with the audience that you want to serve, the problems you want to solve, so that you can transition to that effectively and smoothly.
Cool. I'm going to echo a couple of you and your points there. The lack of confidence piece for people who are just coming out of school. They're trying to figure out, how do I actually prove my value to people when I have no professional experience whatsoever? That's a big question I know that a lot of people have. And I often encourage those people to look sort of around that fact. What have you done in your academic past? What have you done as a volunteer? What have you done just in your life up until now that we can build into a story and show the value that you do bring. So a lot of people do not pull levers that are right in front of them. And I'm going to use an example of someone that I went to university with. While I was in school with him, he ended up connecting through, we were both involved with the McGill football program and an alumni connection that he met through just a team event. He actually ended up building a relationship with a gentleman who his company at the time represented about a fifth of the NHL hockey players in the world. So he actually created an internship opportunity. And 12 years later, my friend Greg is actually an NHL player agent simply by seeing, oh, there's this guy who is connected to this organization that I'm in. Why don't I go meet him and see what happens? So there's a really clear example of just simply, go out and seize an opportunity. But first you have to kind of recognize that it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There is the issue around just, you guys have hinted at this as well, right? There's paralysis by analysis in terms of what do I do next? There were only about 100 jobs in the world, professions in the world about 150 years ago. Now that number is more around 10,000. So there can be a lot of digging there to do if you are not sure. I like to kind of make a comparison to buying a house. If you are looking for a 10-room house that has between 7 and 15 bathrooms, you're going to be looking for a really long time if you don't really know what you're clear on.
Mm-hmm.
Try and as soon as you know that you want 2 bedrooms and a bathroom or whatever, it becomes much, much easier to start taking action and creating decisions for yourself.
Yeah.
Are there any other points you guys want to highlight right now in terms of overcoming the challenges that people are facing?
Those are really key, I would say, the challenges. And I would love to hear the audience, like, what are some of the challenges that you face? And oftentimes I hear as a recruiter, especially those who are newcomers, is the feedback that they get is the lack of Canadian experience. So they see that as a challenge. And so how do you really differentiate without, like, say, that experience, or as a new grad, like, I don't have experience, how do I really stand out there?
Yeah. Also, like to touch on what you just mentioned, Mike, regarding the evolution of jobs and careers available right now. Like, if we take a look at the past 10 years, for example, there are jobs right now that didn't exist 10 years ago. Who ever heard about a community manager 10 years ago, right? A digital marketer. Those are kind of new roles that have emerged because of technology, because of the way that we live right now, because of the way we interact with social media, and it's the trend. So now imagine what are the roles that we're going to be seeing within the next 5 years. Imagine the roles that we are going to be seeing thanks to this crisis that has opened the room and the door for a lot of people to use their ingenuity to solve the problems that we are facing as human beings through this pandemic. And that could create incredible economic opportunities for the creators and for the population in general.
Absolutely.
For sure. There's actually a stat, I don't remember what it is, but essentially, talk about the talent gap. And basically, students who are graduating right now in the next 5 years, the jobs we have now, like, they're going to see new jobs in the next 5 years. So it's like, you don't know what you don't know there. And so this is where the attitude, being open-minded, being adaptable, and being curious to learn about the new possibilities is so important. Yeah.
I think that, like, adaptability is one of the key abilities and skills that everybody needs to have and be able to showcase after this pandemic, right? So how can you overcome these challenges? Like, for example, you can stay upgraded. Again, like, we're talking about the year 2020. We have so many access right now, free access to unlimited information and technology, right? That we didn't have before. Before, you had to go to school, you had to go to read, like, pay and stuff. Now you can go to YouTube. If you need you need to upgrade yourself in Excel, for example. Talking about a career transition, imagine that you work in customer service and you never had to use Excel in your life. Now your new role, or the career that you are trying to get into, requires you to have advanced levels of Excel. Before, you had to go and pay for a course at a university or an institution or something. Now you can type in YouTube advanced Excel tutorials, and you can train yourself, and you can use that information when you go to an interview and talk to a potential employer. What did you do, during this pandemic to stay updated if you wanted to pivot into a new field, right? So it's content that you can collect now easier than if we were living 10 years ago. If we're living in the same situation 10, 15 years ago.
Yep, absolutely. Education has never been more accessible than it is now. And yeah, highly encourage everyone who's listening that there are ways that you can really easily upskill at a time when it's becoming an absolute premium. Cool. Let's talk a little bit about the ways that people, this is a big one I know for you, David, as people are transitioning, there's often a lot of hardship that comes, and it can really take a toll on our mental health. Can we start with you? How can people manage mental health challenges that can come along with a career transition?
Yeah, so mental health is pretty much the person's condition regarding their psychological and emotional well-being. And the thing is, if we talk about newcomers, international students, people who are coming to a new country, is that in many cultures, this is a taboo topic still. So people don't talk about that, you know? So when they come here, for example, they have the perception that if they are experiencing a mental health challenge, or if they have the desire to talk about it, they're gonna be perceived as weak. So we need to change that. We need to break that stigma. You need to kill that stigma, right? In Canada, we've been more open with the conversation about mental health for the past, I'm going to say 5 to 7 years, still stigmatized, right? Now, again, if we make things really relevant with this pandemic, right, we've seen that the conversation is broader because as people have been in a lockdown, as more people have been furloughed or laid off, etc., more people are having their mental health impacted, right? So a new grad as well, for example, the pressure, right, about having to find a job, an internship, about where do I find it if companies are laying off their employees, if there's no physical spaces to go there. So that can impact your mental health. Without your mental health, it's very difficult to be able to achieve the goals that you want to achieve for yourself. So a few things that folks can do in order to keep their mental health on point. First of all, acknowledge that something is off. Embrace that emotion, right? You're getting up in the mornings, you don't have the same energy, you feel that you're dragged down, right? Embrace that emotion, right? Talk about it. If you have a support circle around you, talk about what's going on, right? If you don't have that, then use the resources that you have at hand. If you are a student, even if you're a new grad, I know we have talking to a lot of new grads here. When you finish your school, it doesn't mean that the relationship with your institution is over. You're going to be always part of that family within your institution, right? So you can access the services that they provided by certified professional counselors that are now delivering their services online to help you navigate whatever mental health challenges you're facing, right? Now, if you're not a student, so you don't have access to that, then depending on the city where you live, you will have to do some research regarding what are some places that can provide you with same experiences and same resources as well. If you talk about Toronto, for example, CAMH, 211.ca, etc., right? So ask for help. You need to ask. You need to voice this out, because if you don't voice it out, then nobody will know, and then you will just go in denial mode, and that will trigger other things. That's something that happens too. So people say, well, maybe if I have a few drinks, that's going to help, right? If I binge on TV, that's going to help. It's not.
Yeah.
You cannot neglect your mental health by numbing your pain with alcohol, with drugs, with TV, or whatever vice you resort to. You resort to, right?
Yeah.
You need to tackle that. You need to talk about it, right? And imagine, for example, if you say, for example, when you were talking about like leadership abilities, if you manage as a new grad or as a newcomer or as a student, right, or as a career changer, to figure out that if you talk about your experience, be vulnerable, and within your own community, open a conversation about it, and maybe create groups where everybody can share their experiences, because maybe other people are scared, about opening up, because they feel that they are alone in this, because they feel that they are the only ones going through this. So if you voice it out, if you relate to other people, then people will say, oh, okay, I'm not the only one going through this, right? So that can help a lot. So I think those are some of the strategies that people could resort to in order to keep their mental health on point. It's paramount. Career can wait, school can wait, but your mental health needs to be your top priority. Otherwise, career cannot happen and school cannot happen successfully.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to add in to what you said. I love what you said, embracing our emotion, asking for help. I'm from just my experience right now as well,
Mhm.
like I have quite a few one-on-one clients I work with. I'm actually noticing a shift right now because like we've been in lockdown for the last like 4+ months now. I'm noticing like collectively, energetically, people feel exhausted, feel stressed,
Mhm.
feel
Mhm.
overwhelmed. Like these are the
Mhm.
words I keep hearing. And so even like last Friday, like I held a mid-year check-in with just all my one-on-one clients. And it was just to check in. It wasn't necessarily talking about job search, but just to check in how people are
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah.
And it was so nice to just have a open, honest conversation to see that you're not alone as well. So I
Yeah.
think that's really important, finding that support group there. The other thing I'm going to offer in addition to this is a lot of times because in a job search mode, what I see, because I work with a lot of more like experienced professionals, is that there's this mentality feeling that there's this pressure that they're the sole income provider for their household. There's this pressure to not talk about the struggles. Like it's just, and so, but I think that it's actually more important to talk about it as well. But I think the other thing is one of the perspective I like to offer is valuing yourself.
Mhm.
So valuing your own skills, your experience, your knowledge. This ties back to like really, I call it like owning your greatness, like really looking at like, the things that you've done, the things that you've accomplished. A lot of times when I talk to people about their career story, one of the things I always hear is, oh, that was just my job. Like that was just part of my job. And when I get them to look at it from a different perspective, yes, it was a job, but how did you do it differently? How did you make it different? Like, how did you add value and impact in the organization? And how did you serve? Like, when you think of it from that perspective, it changes the way they can see themselves there. So, something I always talk about, especially like with those that you're getting tons of rejections, you still need to get yourself back up and see, like, hey, like, in light of that, these are things that I'm proud of. These are things that I have to offer. These are things that I'm going to work on there.
Yeah. I think I have only two things I want to add to your great points there. Number one is kind of an addition to what you said, in that I worked for an organization throughout my 20s where the leader said regularly, basically all of our full faculty meetings, 25% of this room is dealing with a significant mental health challenge right now. And that 25% will change. It will move. It's not fixed. It's not the same 25%, not the same people all of the time. That
Mhm.
25% will change. And you guys are here in part to help one another go through these times, because eventually, if you're not in that 25% now, you will be one day.
Mhm.
And that created a lot of open dialogue within our community. And I think, going back to a little bit of what you both have said, finding community around the issues that you're dealing with, because it is that normal. And the
Yeah.
more open we can be about it, the easier it becomes to forge that community and create strength around us.
Yeah.
For sure.
And you know
The-
what? Just like to tie in what you just said,
Mhm.
no one is exempted from experiencing a mental health challenges throughout their life. No one.
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah. Yeah.
The three of us can experience something tomorrow, or maybe we
Mhm.
have experienced something in the past, right? No matter
Yeah.
how successful you are, no matter where you come from, no one is exempted, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
About this.
I'm gonna admit, like, open to this. Like, even though people tell me, like, Diana, you're so positive, so energetic, so passionate all the
Yeah.
time. How do you maintain that positivity? Well, I am that. I have to admit, like, even after the 3-month mark of this lockdown, I was feeling energetically low. Like, I actually felt, I wouldn't say I wasn't depressed, but I was low. And what I had to recognize was because I've been on in terms of serving a lot of clients, being on webinars, and I have 2 young kids at home, which means I'm actually not off when I'm not working. I'm actually back into mommy mode. And so I've been go, 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 go without a break for 3 months. And so mentally, I was not well because I'm listening to a lot of people's challenges as well.
Yeah.
And I got my kids' struggles to deal with.
Mhm.
And so I had to take a break that Canada long weekend, just to take a week off, because I recognized that it was going down that path, and I need to take a step back and say no.
Yeah. So that tells me that you were like reaching like burnout, right?
Yes,
Because
I was reaching
work,
burnout.
and this is a beautiful example that you're giving us, Diana, because I'm sure that so many people can relate, because their reality changed for so many people, right? You were going to the office before. Now you have to be home. Kids are not at school, so kids have to be homeschooled. So not only you are doing your work, but you are also dealing with your kids there, and kids are kids, right?
The challenges,
They're
Oh, yeah.
children. They have their challenges. They're loud. They are full of energy, etc. So that adds on to everything, right? So you reach burnout. So what you did, self-care. That's what you did by taking that week, is self-care, right? So also
Yeah.
one strategy for you is to find out things that you enjoy doing that can help you decompress, right? And go back and recharge again to continue
Yeah.
doing whatever you're doing. The job search
Yeah.
process, your work, helping your kids, whatever it is, right? Self-care.
I love
For example, for me, what has helped me a lot during the pandemic, because again, like also I'm like very positive, optimistic, right? But sometimes like during the pandemic, like the lows, right? The lows. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, for example, one thing that has helped me a lot is cooking. I love cooking. And, I used to work in culinary tourism, so I'm a very strong relationship with food. So cooking is something that I do once or twice a day, and it helps me. It's like therapeutic to me, right? So you
Finding
want
what works.
yeah, exactly. So you want to find out what works for you. Is it playing an instrument? Is it maybe learning a new language? Or is it just taking a walk at the park? Now that we're at least in Canada, now that we have the chance to do it because it's summer, right?
Yeah.
Think about things that you could do for self-care. Like
I love that.
Yeah.
That self-care is so key. Honestly, that week I was off. I got a haircut, I got a manicure, and I got a pedicure, and I went swimming.
There you go.
That was my self-care.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I felt great.
This is the kind of openness that I think really has to be present when it comes to these mental health discussions. And I thank both of you for being so open about that. I'll just kind of close off that segment by saying to what you were saying earlier, Diana, the point about rejection, and that there can be a lot of rejection that goes on in a job search, and it can be really hard to not take that personally. I often encourage people to kind of remove yourself, detach a little bit from that rejection, and realize that a lot of the time people are rejecting your profile or the way you have packaged and positioned yourself. And the rejection, instead of it being an attack on you, should really be a signal that says, I need to adjust something in the way that I am positioned or marketing myself, because it's not quite resonating with the people that I'm trying to connect with. And maybe sometimes you have to change the people you're trying to connect with as well. But see it as data points as opposed to this massive emotional attack on yourself. That's all I got on that one. It's a big subject, and we could probably do a whole other show on mental health during a job search. But I thank both of you for sharing what you've done so far. When it comes to, so etiquette is a pretty important part of the process of meeting new people, starting up in a new place. What do we mean by that? And what are some of the big do's and don'ts for people who are finding themselves in these positions, trying to connect with others?
You want me to start, or you?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
So I'm gonna talk from the perspective, also as a recruiter as well, because I used to receive, well, actually I still receive like tons of also messages from job seekers. So one thing is the way to approach, employers or recruiters. Instead of having that mass approach is like, do you have a job for me? Or here's my resume, please keep in mind opportunities. Like I get that all the time. One is you want to be respectful. Second is you want to be grateful as well, and be courteous as well too. One example I'm going to share that I actually posted recently as well. Job seeker asked for like a referral from one of her former boss, who made an introduction to the CEO. The CEO responded that they didn't have an opportunity at that time with the company. And the job seeker did not respond with gratitude, but instead saying, I'm not interested in the company anyways, and I'm overqualified for the role that they're recruiting for. And pretty much this person lost any further introductions. So, I think the lesson here is, they say like expect nothing, appreciate everything. Like even though there was a no in terms of a job opportunity, you still want to express gratitude there. Yeah. I think it's so easy. I see sometimes in terms of etiquette, and people like either like newcomers I see as well, like there's this expectation that, someone needs to introduce you to the network. I always get this a lot. Dana, I see you have a big network. Can you introduce to me some of your network? I'm like, who do I introduce you to? Like, what are you looking for? So that lack of clarity of what you're targeting and what you have to offer needs to be clear there. Otherwise, it's just gonna be like a dead end there.
Yeah, and I'd like to touch on what you just said, like from the newcomer or the international student perspective. Maybe sometimes it's cultural, right? But we're talking about, for example, if we talk about the North American context, you cannot ask before building a relationship, right? You need to take time to build a relationship and try to get to know the person and find commonalities or similarities to hook them so that they're willing to help, to talk to you, to start a conversation. That should be the end goal, right? Like you, Diana, I get messages on a weekly basis. from folks, usually from other cultures or overseas. Hey, so this is I'm looking for a position in supply chain management. This is my resume. Share it with your network. Not even a please.
Share it with
the and then I look at the person, right? I have it as a first degree connection. I accept everyone who sends me a connection request on LinkedIn. Yeah, but then I think this person never engaged with my content, never left a comment, never nothing, right? And then sometimes I take the time and I said, if your goal is to come to Canada, really, you need to change your approach. Because if you are using the same approach to connect with people who can actually expedite your work prospects, nobody will reply to your messages. And I tell them, put yourself in my shoes, right? If you were in my situation and I ask you to share your resume with my network, I don't know anything about you, right? You don't know anything about me. It's their reputation, who's there in jeopardy, right? So that's a huge etiquette mishap that I see a lot happens also when it comes to newcomers and international students. And they said, you know what, David, thank you very much. I didn't know. Sometimes people just don't know better. So I think that's why it's important to have this conversation so that you avoid making those mistakes, because you can burn bridges, right?
Yeah.
Like that. And like you said, Diana, gratitude, right? People are busy. I think like time in in today's age, time is the biggest commodity, right? People are very busy, right? Everybody now is on LinkedIn, so we are all getting messages and that. So appreciate that somebody takes time to say, yeah, for sure, let's connect. Yeah, for sure, let's have a chat. But imagine this other person, oh, I'm overqualified. See you later. That person burned all possible bridges with that company and maybe with the network of that person.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah. No one wants to be a means to an end. So if I receive a request for a referral, or if I were to ask for a referral to something, I gotta feel like that person is gonna say, like, hell yes, I want to support you, or yes, you with your offer to me for a request for a referral. Like, it should be a no-brainer for that person to go out and say, yes, I want to support you on this. And it's okay if you don't know the person you haven't known them for years, let's just say, but like, do take the time and treat them like a human being. The more we stop viewing networking as this sort of icky transactional thing, and more of how do we actually build real human connections that have quality, that's when it becomes so much easier. And instead of being a stepping stone that people are walking over to get to a job, you become someone that is on the train of someone else's journey, supporting them, and vice versa. And when those things are happening, then the referrals can start to come in.
Magic happens.
Yeah. I'm going to share a positive story just to hone in on this. So the key lesson here is to don't ask for favors until you build a rapport, right? And so you want to start with seeking insights and advice first. So many years ago, because I used to do a lot of like speaking events as well at universities. There's this new grad who followed up with me, an HR new grad. And usually it's like less than 5% of people actually follow up. And this person followed up and he had an interest in recruiting, and he knew I had a background in recruiting for agency and corporate. And so he was debating, should I go corporate or go agency to start his recruiting career? So he reached out for my advice in terms of, getting some insights on what my experience is like. And he didn't expect anything. He just wanted to learn my experience. And I actually saw so much potential in him that I then connected him to someone in my network who also worked at both the agency and on the corporate side to get insights. And I mean, this new grad, or not even new grad, it's still a student. Somehow he built a relationship, really impressed him. He had like a sales background, karate, like he was used to, like, really good at talking to people. And my friend then connected him to his former boss at a big name agency, and they created the first ever internship for him.
Wow.
First ever internship. They've never had one before. And so this just goes to show how, it takes time. You met with me first, then someone else, then someone else. But really with also that curious mindset, that grateful attitude, that eagerness as well, showcasing potential, that someone really will believe in him and endorse him as well. Like I went out of my way to bat for him, and then my friend did. And this other executive went out of the way to create the first ever internship.
Yeah. And key takeaway from what you just shared, it takes time, right? The best opportunities don't rarely happen overnight. No, like an overnight success it takes people years to become an overnight success, right? So really. So it takes time. It takes time to build that relationship, to add value, to have that collaborative relationship, right? But it pays off. Like if you're strategic and if you think about the other person as well, it's like a two-way street of empathy, right?
Yeah.
Let's get into the personal branding part of our discussion. I know this is a big topic for a lot of people joining us today. What are the elements of a great personal brand, and how do you really stand out as top talent through it?
I love this topic.
Yeah, we could do a whole other show on this, right?
It's one of my favorites. So I always talk about branding essentially is who you are, what others say about you, and what's your unique promise and value, right? So a big part of having a great, effective personal brand is you need to know who you are and what makes you unique and marketable. And I always talk about from a job search standpoint, my belief is that the greater your brand, or the stronger your brand, the greater your market value, meaning your ability to earn more as well. Okay. So what really makes what makes a great personal brand, or what differentiates a top talent there? And I'm going to speak from my experience having recruited for some top companies like Google, like J&J, AstraZeneca. Some of the things that I would look for from a recruiter's perspective is number one is the performance. So this is really talking about the accomplishments and results. What were they, the tangible results there? The second I will look for is the progression in terms of the career. How have you progressed in your career? Have you taken on more responsibilities? Even if you're a new grad, you can still showcase things like volunteer work you've done, or even newcomer as well. Like, what are things that you've done that gone above and beyond there? The next thing I look for is promotions, right? Especially like if there's experienced roles, like have you had like a fast track career or have multiple promotions in a couple of years? Those are all signs of high potential talent as well there. Okay. To me, at the end of the day, the bottom line from a job search standpoint is, are you able to articulate your unique value proposition? And that's something most people have trouble identifying. And so my quick tip here is, number one is you need to know essentially what I call your expertise. What are your knowledge, skills, and experience? And the second piece is, what's your track record of success, which is your accomplishments, results, and performance. And then you look at that, what's the X factor that differentiates you? That's your unique value.
And it's such a fascinating topic, right? Personal branding, because I think also it's something that we didn't talk much about a few years ago, because when we thought about brands, it was like the corporate brands, Nike, Microsoft, IBM, Google, whatever, right? But now we are getting to understand that developing a personal brand is paramount if you want to progress in your career, and if you want to get the visibility that you need to get in order to get noticed in today's market, right? It's very competitive. Having a resume is not enough anymore. Like if your job strategy lies on sending 200 resumes online and you're getting one call back for an interview, if anything, is not effective. So you need to build your personal brand. And again, you can resort to platforms like LinkedIn so people can quickly identify what is it that you do, right? Also, another thing that I think makes a personal brand effective is authenticity. Who are you, right? What are your values? What do you stand for? When you create content, if you don't create your content, but if you engage with other people's content, with your comments, is it easy for other people to realize what you stand for? What's your work ethics? What is your area of expertise, etc.? It's a fascinating topic that everybody should put a lot of attention to if they want to get the visibility that they need in order to get and land exciting career opportunities.
Combining the human element with the skills, the track record that you were talking about, Diana, hugely important. And I do see a lot of people they're trying to package those things together with their messaging, and they're often clever as opposed to clear. And I'm not saying don't be creative in the way that you're talking about yourself. You should think hard and be an engaging person that people are interested in meeting. But I do find that sometimes I'm looking at a LinkedIn profile and I just don't know after 3-5 seconds who this person is or what they're doing. And it can be really, really simple. It could be as simple as just writing a simple headline or the opening line in your about section. I came across a profile, I think it was last week, on someone that I was researching as a podcast guest. And I think the first sentence in his about section was, this is a top salesperson at a big tech company. I lead a fun and engaging team and delivered 9 digits worth of business in the last 4.5 years. Wow. I was like, okay, I'm really interested in learning more about you.
Yeah.
And nothing more complex than that one sentence, right?
Yeah.
It can be as simple as that. It takes a little bit of time, I think, for a lot of people to get to that level of clarity, and that's normal.
Yeah.
But if people cannot discover you that quickly and understand what you're bringing to the table, they can't hire you. People won't hire and trust things that confuse them. It's just a simple fact of human existence.
Absolutely. It's that soundbite you're just referring to.
Yeah.
I just want to answer a quick question here. Lauren asked, what if we hadn't had promotions as a student, like from previous summer jobs? Are we perceived as less marketable? So in that case, I would say, like, if you're a student or a new grad, the promotion is less relevant in that criteria. I think the next one would be around potential. So it's really looking at the leadership, the potential. So this is where you want to showcase your summer jobs, how you've made an impact, and maybe like even your volunteer activities as well, how you got involved with extracurricular at school.
Yeah. Just to wrap up on what Mike just said, that was a great anecdote, for example, of how someone has the clarity to really illustrate their value in such a clear manner, right? And that's why, in my opinion, LinkedIn is way more powerful than a resume, right? The resume is just a structured document. Your personality cannot transcend. Whereas LinkedIn, if you have your headline and your about section, is the best space for you to show your value, right? And show you what your brand is about from the very get-go, right? As you said, it could take time for you to do a self-assessment, have a very honest conversation with yourself regarding what's your skill set and thanks to that skill set, what are the problems that you desire to solve and you can't solve, right? Or the contributions that you can make, and use that, show that personality, that storytelling, right? It's not a resume; it's social media at the end of the day, right? LinkedIn, right? So I think it's a great platform for you to start building your personal brand effectively.
Absolutely. And once you have clarity on that message, go out and repeat it. Diana, you are a master of this. You, at the start of the show, when you introduced yourself, that's not the first time you've presented yourself in the way that you did. That is something that is in you. It's part of it really is branded in you and branded in the minds of other people that you talk to. I know that for sure.
Yeah. Repeat. And this is where going back to knowing yourself, right? Like knowing your strengths, knowing your skills, knowing your unique value, and knowing your audience.
Yeah.
What do they care about? What's their pain point? So for job seekers, part of it's also knowing your hiring managers, what are their pain points? What kind of people are they looking for? And you want to use that kind of language to tailor to their needs as well. Okay. Someone asked, I don't know if we can answer this quick question because it ties into branding, is does your LinkedIn profile have to match your resume, or can it be your branding page that showcase some not experience and with the gaps? So my take is, your resume, it's more like the career history, right? You still want to make it a marketing document. The LinkedIn profile has less restrictions, so you can be more fun in terms of showcasing your personality and showcasing really who you are, what you're passionate about. The bio summary, I consider it a premium real estate space where you can really tell your story to differentiate. Like as a recruiter, like I've seen millions of LinkedIn profiles. When I do a search, the first thing I'm going to see is the tagline. Is your tagline interesting enough for me to click on it to read further? The next thing I'm going to see is your bio summary. And majority of people don't do anything about it or just have like a very boring blurb. And so if you have an interesting soundbite and a story, instantly you're going to catch my attention and I don't want to talk to you more.
Yeah, perfect. And what do you want to be known for, right? Do you want to be when someone mentions your name? Oh, that's the student who educate other students about sustainability. Oh, that's the student who talks about bioinformatics. What is it? I just saw something like a nice comment here on the chat, if you don't mind, right? Look, so Ali is saying, I'm a bit late to the game with LinkedIn. I've had it for over a decade, but I have not made use of it. So I'm starting to update it now and engage. How do I show my successes if I've just worked in countries for various sectors? I'm originally from Canada, but I chose to work into other countries and moved on my own. I hope that it shows that I'm adaptable. For me, just by reading that, you are such an interesting person already because you have international experience, right? You're not late on the game yet. I don't think you're late on the game. I started becoming very, I've had like my LinkedIn like for 10 years as well, but I started becoming very active last year. Before I had it, but like I remember in 2016 when it marked my 10th year in Canada, I wrote an article that was my very first post on LinkedIn about 6 steps that immigrants could take in order to build a thriving career in Canada. And it got so much traction, so much engagement, and it intimidated me, right? And I'm like, oh my God, what do I do from here? So I kind of stopped. And then I did it last year. And so you're not late, right? I think with this, you show as part of your personal brand that you're adventurous, that you're not afraid of challenges, that you're adaptable, like you said, because you have gone to other countries, do some work there and now, and you're doing what you have to do. You're starting little by little, and you start by engaging, with other people's content. Get visible. You never know who's going to stumble upon your profile, like the way the 3 of us stumble upon our profiles.
Mm-hmm.
We are always referring each other. So, for example, Diana and Mike, hey, David, you should connect with these people because they work with international students. Hey, we're always helping each other, so you never know who's going to see your profile and open opportunities for that. So you're not late in the game, and you can still, I think you have so much content to play with to build a personal brand that I think you are in the right place.
Yeah. I'm just going to add on something from a recruiter's perspective here, is don't assume an employer can pinpoint and see that you're adaptable. Like, tell that story of why you're adaptable, because you worked in different countries, you gain these different perspectives, and you're able to like add X, Y, Z. That's where you're really pitching and marketing yourself. So a lot of times what I'm seeing is people miss that connecting the dots, where they can really connect, especially career changers as well. Like they have this experience, they're looking to do something else, but it's up to you as a job seeker to connect the dots for the employers to see that you're adaptable, to see that you're a quick learner, to see that you understand what they're looking for as well. Don't just assume. People are like, oh, they should just know just by reading my resume. They should know that I'm a quick learner, that I'm smart. Well, you got to tell a little bit of a story first, and you got to pitch yourself to stand out.
Yeah, that's true. The paper doesn't talk, right? The profile is there, but it doesn't talk. It's different when we're having a conversation here face to face. And if I say something and Mike and Diana, David, can you elaborate on that? Sure. But the employer cannot ask the piece of paper, hey, can you elaborate on this piece of paper? Because the paper is not going to talk back. So you have to make things easier for them so they can create a clear picture in their head of what is what is it that you want to showcase, right?
Something that you can, as you go out and you build your brand messaging on a place like LinkedIn, you can always ask a new connection, hey, would you be willing to, we can do an exchange here, take a look at one another's profiles and just give each other a little bit of feedback. What do you take away from seeing my profile after the first 5 to 10 seconds? What is it saying to you about me? It's a really easy way, and a lot of people are willing to do a little bit of free work and get some value out of it. So highly recommend that. Let's get to our point about networking. This is a big topic for certain people who are with us today, for sure. How do we go about building a stronger professional network? And what is social capital? And is it something that we should really be keeping in mind as we go through our networking efforts? I'll start with David. Why don't you start this one, actually?
So social capital, the way I would define is with a sentence that I like a lot and that I heard a few months back on LinkedIn. Your network is your net worth, right? For me, that's what defines social capital, right? The more people you know, the bigger the ability you have to build a strong network, the more eyes are going to be there out in the look for opportunities for yourself, right? Now, if we talk about LinkedIn, it's the best platform right now during the pandemic to build a strong network. I'm going to talk about from the newcomer and the international student perspective. If you want to come to Canada, if you want to move to a different place, you need to start your networking game before you arrive in this country, months in advance, right? You want to start following people that are working the jobs that you are looking to get. You want to start targeting the organizations that you're dreaming to work for. You have to do that research and start that process from your home countries, right? Again, the network needs to have a purpose, right? So you just cannot just like send connections like crazy and demand service from other people that don't know anything about you. Try to build a relationship. So one good thing to, the best thing to get started to build a relationship and that network is when you see someone who is very active on the platform, engage with their content, right? Instead of just like writing down on their post, great, agreed, thank you. No, just like take a moment to digest their post, right? And then leave a comment that adds extra value to what the author is saying, right? Again, you don't know who's going to see that comment, right? Someone sees this comment, say, for example, a hiring manager, a recruiter. Oh, who's Diana? Who left this comment? Let me check this Diana's person profile. Boom. Oh my God, this person fits the profile exactly of the folk that we're looking for to fill this role. Diana, message, we are having this opportunity. Are you open to chat about it? Yes, no, whatever, right? So engaging with people content is the first thing. Not only you're building a relationship behind the scenes, right? But then afterwards, right? So say, for example, Mike, right? So say that I'm following Mike. I haven't sent a connection request yet. I think it's smart to follow the person first, right? Engage with their content. And then, because when I engage, Mike is going to remember my name. Oh, David. Okay, David is usually helping me promote my content, engaging with me, right? And then few days, few weeks, then I send a connection to Mike, and then I use a hook, right? What can I use? Maybe the latest post that he uploaded, right? Hey, Mike, this post really resonated because this, and that. Your journey impresses me, and I would love to learn more about it, right? Something like that, yeah. And then you think Mike is going to tell me yes or no? He's going to tell me yes because we already built a relationship, right? Through that engagement, right? If I never engage with his content or anything, and I send a connection request, Mike, I need you to help me with this. I'm looking for work. Help me. I know that you help new grads, but you've never built a relationship. Most likely, Mike will not even open that message, right? So that engagement first. Look for thought leaders in the industry of your interest and engage with their comments. See who's also commenting there, right? And see who else you would like to build a relationship there. This platform gives you the possibility to virtually connect with anyone in the world, right? And we live in a globalized economy, so we can always benefit from the people that we work there. So that would be my first tip to build your social capital.
Cool. Dan, how about you?
I love networking. It's one of the most popular talks I get invited to speak about. And when I look back, a lot of the jobs that I had was through referrals and relationship buildings. And out of all the the clients I've worked with, I've only had a handful of clients who successfully found jobs through applying online. Most found jobs through networking, relationship building, or referrals. And so this is something I teach a lot about. So one of the things is that what I find is a lot of times people find networking awkward or hard to ask for help. And a lot of times when I see a lot of even mid-senior level professionals, they've only networked with people at their company or people that they know. And so one of the strategies is that you have to really have networking as part of your long-term career development plan. It has to be something ongoing, not just networking for job search. Most people start when they need to find a job, but you have to really look at the bigger picture when we talk about your network is your net worth. It has to be something ongoing.
Yeah.
So that's something the mindset needs to shift there in order to get comfortable with networking. When you're just starting off, so I like to look at networking in different phases. If you're just starting off, start with people your warm network, right? To get your feet wet, get comfortable, get some feedback. And then you move into people, what I call like the cold network, which is more people at your target companies. Start with people, what I call your peers, right? So if you're at that product manager level, find people who are product managers to learn more about the day-to-day responsibilities to get insights. Then you're going to build more confidence, right? It's like a step. You move into talking to recruiters, hiring managers, executives. Once you get to these people, you better know your stuff. You want to showcase that you have a great elevator pitch. You want to showcase you've done research about the industry, about the company, so that you can impress. So you want to take that latter approach to get yourself comfortable with the networking there as well. One of the challenges I always like to give to my clients is to identify a list of like 100 people to network with. It may seem a lot, but from my experience in recruiting, I have found for me to successfully hire one person for an employer, I need to look at least 1,000 profiles for me to narrow it down to like my top 50 to 100 and then present my top 10. So I look at it that way as well. And then from a recruiting standpoint, similar to job seekers, you're not going to have 100% people respond back to you. So a lot of times people give up after reaching out to 10, 20 people. And really, the reality is if only 20, 30% of people respond back to you and half will say they'll help you, you're only getting like a dozen, not even of people really help you. So part of it is the numbers as well there too.
Yeah.
Right? So that's my high level with network. I'm a big fan of it. One thing I do want to point out, because I know, David, you mentioned about part of it with LinkedIn. I love using it as well for networking. One of the things that I hear the advice a lot about commenting on people's content. The truth is, though, less than 1% of the members actually post regular content on a weekly basis. So people who are at the hiring manager level, most don't even post content at all.
That's true.
So we don't want to rely on just that strategy. You want to make sure you're also contacting those people who are considered decision makers, influencers at your target companies to network with as well. Okay? And the referral piece, I'm a big fan of this. Like I refer a lot of my clients, once they've done actually all the messaging work. And what I have built over the years is like that pay it forward model. Because the more I network with people and I build those relationships, when I make introductions, usually the response rate is 100% or at least 90% because I'm endorsing someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't take it lightly. If I don't think that person is ready to have a meaningful conversation, or if they haven't done that prep work, I don't introduce that. I'll just tell them you're not ready yet. Because I've been burned before in the past. And so I know it's so important that if I'm going to endorse someone that I think this person has potential, I want to make sure they've done that prep work. So one of my philosophy is that you want to make it easy for people to introduce you to others. So write your referral bio message in third person writing that they can just easily copy and paste. I get all my clients to do that because otherwise I won't have time to write out everyone's bios here. But if they write it, you're also controlling your own brand message of how you want to sell your unique skill set and unique value proposition as well.
Such a great point. Make it easy for people to talk about you and present you to other people. The whole idea of paying it forward, that is a great, first of all, in the line of thought of building social capital. Huge move there.
Huge.
I'm a big Stephen Covey fan, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He's got a big chapter in that book talking about the idea of an emotional deposit and emotional withdrawals, and the idea of us holding on to a bank account with different people. And it's not a monetary bank account. It's a bank account of how do we feel? What is the strength of our connection with that person? And through the acts of deposits, we build that up over time so that when we do need to make a withdrawal in the form of something like asking for an introduction or can you place me into this place for a job opportunity, etc., it's easy to do that. That bank account is nice and healthy and it can support that kind of request. So we've talked about a whole bunch of different ways that people can actually build social capital. And it can be as simple as just engaging with people's content, like you were saying, David, or putting people in touch with new connections that might be of mutual benefit. And it is a huge gesture, and you don't have to be waiting for someone to ask you to introduce someone to someone else. Just go ahead. If you feel in your gut like it's a mutually beneficial interaction that will be had if you put these two people together, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, and cultivate a network, right? So stay in touch with your former coworkers. You never know, like if your paths are gonna cross again. I had a guest speaker in my webinar on Monday, former international student who managed to land a managerial role in Microsoft, and she was telling us how she loves like networking, even if she's not looking for an opportunity. She used to love her coffee chats. Now she does virtual coffee chats. Right? Not looking for an opportunity, just putting yourself out there, right? Telling the world, I'm here, I'm checking on you. For example, now with the pandemic and everything, if you think about a former coworker you got along with and you haven't talked to in a while, send them a text, hey, just wanted to check in on you to see if you're okay. That, and then cultivate that because you never know, again, what referrals or what opportunities can come out of that interaction. And it's just a nice human touch, right?
Yeah. There's a question here from Chris. What key points should you include in a referral bio message? That's such a great question. I'll just talk about that. I think there are different type of versions. There could be like a casual version, but I usually say at least you need to have like, what's your reason for connecting? Like, you know, the context. Summarize where you are at in your career right now, what you're looking for as well, like what's your goal, and then provide briefly like what are your top 3 unique selling points. Right. So if I'm giving a more formal introduction, meaning I'm actually introducing someone to a company where I know there's a role, I actually get my clients to write out their top 3 unique selling points. So do you have expertise, let's say, in marketing and product and relationship building, and then elaborate that. So it's a bit more formal message. But if it's just like a casual introduction, at least the reason for connecting and what you want to learn from them and what your target is really important there.
So true. Just keeping an eye on the time and in the essence of answering so many great questions that I see coming in, I'm wondering if we can go to our closing question around just, is there anything else that job seekers should know in order to stand out more effectively and accelerate the job search process? Any thoughts on that, you guys?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would say a big part of the biggest opportunity is put yourself out there more. Right? If you're just at home applying for jobs, like just looking through job boards and applying right now, I want to encourage you to at least put more time into doing outreaches, talking to people, having informational chats. I would say that would help tremendously there. Being more active on LinkedIn will certainly help as well. Those would be my biggest key thing. And most of my experience as well, because I work with a lot of students to executives. With one thing I want to challenge you all is to really master your glowing introduction, your elevator pitch. Okay, because you're going to be introducing yourself over and over and over again. If you don't have that master and nailed, it will hinder you to move forward to the next stage. One of the common feedback I hear from my connections when I make introductions is most of the time people just say, I'm open to anything. And it's hard for them to help them because they're like, well, I want to help them, but they're open to anything. And so I want to challenge you to really get clear on what you're looking for and what you believe your value is so that they can also be your advocate as well. Okay? I think that's one of the biggest opportunities is nailing that, your introduction.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful point that you mentioned, Diana. Making things easier for the people who are willing to help you out. Be more specific. For me, I would say strive to impress humans rather than wanting to impress a robot. And by a robot, I mean the ATS system, right? The software that big companies use to filter their resumes. Try to build a human connection. Try to get the referrals that Diana was talking about, right? From a personal perspective, in 14 years in Canada, say that I've had maybe 10 different career opportunities. Just one I applied online. One. All the other opportunities have been through a referral. A friend or a coworker, including my teaching position, including my culinary tourism, including clients that I get now for Orbit 5, all referrals. So strive to build human connections. And now it's so important that your brand shows the human side. Your personal brand shows the human side. And I think also this pandemic has shown us the importance of that, right? Of connecting again with the humans in a deeper level. So strive to that. I mean, like I'm not telling you do not apply online. Yeah, sure, it should be part of your strategy as well, right? But strive to impress a human before trying to beat a robot.
Can I tell a story? I love what you said. Strive to impress a human. When you said that, I had like so many light bulb moments for me because I'm a huge advocate for just advocating like great talent. And so I'm going to share a couple examples just to hit home of why this is such an important message you shared here. Earlier, just actually a couple months ago, I brought on someone to help me out with my business. You guys know like Jean, to assist me in my business with webinar planning, event planning, and all that. And she impressed me when she first attended one of my workshops earlier this year, back in March, because she was participating, asking great questions, very professional. And I got to know her, just the way she showed up because of her attitude and enthusiasm. And so I actually approached her if she wanted to help me out in my business and for me to also endorse her as well and to people in my network. So that's like one example. Another example was so many examples here. Many years ago, I went to a wedding. New grad was the host, the MC for the couple. She had showed up so much amazing energy in that night. that I was like, I could see her working at XYZ company, being part of the new grad program. I ended up referring her to my husband's company at Bell, and she got a job offer as part of the new grad program. Okay, we'll talk about international. I had a consultant who in the UK wanted to move to Canada, applying for jobs 2 years, didn't hear anything at all, and worked with me. We worked on his elevator pitch. I instantly introduced him to someone at Deloitte. He impressed her. She then endorsed him to the partner.
There you go.
He got an offer. And so when you talk about impressing a human, not the robot, that just light me up, because I was like, oh my God, bring the human element back. Sure. And by doing that, people will see like the potential like in you as well to help you, like, bat for you as well.
Totally. And those opportunities to be at bat are literally everywhere, as you just demonstrated with those stories, Diana. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Cool. We are going to take a quick moment here to just talk a little bit about what we are doing in our respective spaces, where if you loved engaging with us today, where you can kind of go and find out more about what we're doing. And then we would love to get into Q&A and answer as many questions as we possibly can. I can go first in this segment really, really quickly. If you want to learn more about Coach Oiseau Career Coaching or the podcast that I co-host, I'm going to put in a couple of links here. So the Career Builders podcast, which I've actually been very fortunate through to have both Diana and David on. They were just amazing guests. And so I'm going to just plonk this little couple of URLs in here. I encourage you, if you're a new grad starting out, because that's what I help people do, help them transition from school to the working world. There is a guide that you can get off of my website very, very easily. And then I definitely would recommend the podcast is just another great resource for anyone who is going through any of the phases of career development that we're talking about today. David, do you want to go next?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much, Mike. And I encourage everyone to follow Mike and listen to his podcast because it's amazing. You've seen how he moderates and that. He has such a good energy. So he and Lisa, they do great work in their podcast. So I fully recommend it. As I had a chance to mention before, I'm running weekly webinars usually Mondays at 7 p.m. EST, where I bring a guest speaker. Could be an international student who's graduated and has a very successful career trajectory, could be a CEO of a company, could be a recruiter, so that students get good insight into life stories. Again, we like to share life stories. I found, for example, I do my webinars on my own from time to time, but I find that students really relate well when they hear a story of success when someone who has walked their same shoes, right? And it's recent, like even more, right? So I'm going to just invite you to join my webinars. You have to subscribe on that link. And it doesn't matter if you're international, if you are newcomer, if you are a new grad, if you are a local student, if you're a career changer, I will be more than happy to open a room for you to join us as well. That's it.
Amazing. Diana.
Amazing. Oh, I want to be on one of those.
Preview of what's coming soon at Orbit 5.
I have you in mind. It's my guest speaker for sure.
Yeah. So for me, if you go visit my website, I have a free 10-day job search mastery challenge. Essentially, you'll get 10 days of emails where I'll give you a specific topic and a tip, and also to challenge on what you can do every day to work on to help you take your job search to the next level. So if you haven't done that yet, I invite you to do that. It's free for 10 days. You get a series of emails from me. Another one is I am hosting an event on August 13th. It's one of my popular speed networking events where you get to practice your marketing soundbite. So what I've been talking about, mastering your elevator pitch, I'm going to give you the training, prep materials, and you're going to get 3 rounds of speed networking where you'll get to share. I'll give you tips on how to network with others. So it'll be a lot of fun. I know Mike was part of that.
My goodness, so fun.
The energy was amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm also going to give a bit more deep dive training as well. My signature connect formula on how to connect with people to have meaningful conversations and how to ask great, powerful questions as well. So we'll love to see you guys if you guys are interested in joining that there.
Lovely.
Amazing. Yes, there's plenty of opportunities. Awesome attendees. Please check out the work of Diana and David. If you like podcasting, I would definitely check out that at TCBP. Let us get into some Q&A. I know this is a very anticipated part of our show. Is there anything that jumps out? I know you've been paying a close attention to that, Diana. Is there anything that jumps out right away for you?
Yeah, one, I'm just gonna go quickly. There was one on how do I create engaging content on LinkedIn? Maybe you guys can just share a few tips, because I know we all should create content as well.
Yeah, I think it's a great journey creating content. And I say that word journey very, very deliberately, because oftentimes when we start out, we're not very good at it. We're not very good at telling stories. We're not very good at communicating messages. And it comes down to us having an idea for a message that we want to share with the world. I think ideally through story, because it just allows people to buy into who we are and what we're doing. They see themselves often in what we're doing, and that creates great connection. In a lot of cases, you know what, if you go out and you write a few posts, maybe even a few dozen posts that aren't really resonating with people, it's okay. Keep going. You're on a natural progression, and your voice gets stronger over time. If you want to get good at writing or get good at speaking, do it. You got to do it over and over again. And your voice in both written and spoken forms gets a lot stronger. So just keep going, telling your stories and what you've learned. And trust me, be helpful to other people, and other people will be helpful back to you. It's a great platform for that.
Yeah, like in order to, I think that's a great point that you mentioned. Like if you want to enhance your written communication skills, it's such a great way to do so in a concise manner, right? So to add on what you said, sometimes we are like, okay, but what do I talk about? I'm not sure if people are going to listen to me. First of all, like what you said, Matt, don't worry much about like the number of likes or anything like that. Just like do it, right? Yeah. Sometimes, you know what, like sometimes I post something, right? And I think it's going to be wow. And I get like very little engagement. And sometimes people like, oh, it gets massive engagement. So don't worry much about it. Just show your message. If one gets value out of that, your job is done, right? To get started, because I know it's hard to get started for everybody to start creating content, right? What you could do is start with your comments, right? These are a strategy that I applied myself when I became very active on the platform. I would digest, for example, imagine that Diana posts something today, right? And I've never created content in my life. I would take a moment to digest her post, right? And again, instead of agreed, I would try to leave a thoughtful comment that adds extra value to what she just said. Now, I would copy that comment, paste it on my notes, and elaborate on that. And post it. Boom. You have fresh content out of the oven. It's my content because it's my comment. It added value to Diana's original, post, but it's my idea. It came to my brain, so you can start with that. Now, when you do that, when you make it a habit, it's just the ideas are going to start to flow easier. There are some people, they just sit down and they have the ability to write an amazing post in 5 minutes, right? Some other people, they have to sit down and plan a week, for example. There's someone I follow on LinkedIn. It's called Jason Vanna, a marketer in the United States, and he proposes a content map, right? So you are in the center, right? And then you pull bubbles of different topics that you want to talk about, and then depending on those topics, you can start creating ideas and content that you can elaborate and post as you go, right? It takes time again. The thing with content creation is that a lot of people worry much about what other people are going to say. But I'm going to tell you something, right? You have nothing to lose, right? Those people are not paying for your rent. They're not paying for your student loans. They're not paying for your debt. Who cares? Who cares? Do it. Yeah. Seriously, do it. Put yourself out there, because again, like just having a resume is not anymore. You need to get visibility. You need to get noticed by other folks on these platforms, and take advantage that still the outreach in this platform is organic before they change the algorithm and it becomes a Facebook or Instagram where it's impossible to get visibility if you don't pay money.
Yeah, so true. So for me, I really just started being more active just 2 years ago, and I started with doing videos. And because I consider myself a speaker, it's easier for me to speak than write. So I started with like some quick 2-minute videos. What I've seen, things that perform well for me personally, I find it's usually a post that has a bit more of a story to it as well. And lately I've noticed when I share some of my personal stories, they've performed well versus just the drier content there. But if you're just starting out, I would say the different types of posts, I was like, one is like telling your own story, right? Telling your own journey. Another is like a how-to post, sharing your own experience or expertise there. A third type of post is like, giving shout outs, right? Like for example, like after this webinar, you can do some shout outs, and that's a great way to also help, increase your visibility there. But at the end of the day, it's part of a trial and error. You just got to try and test things out. I have a client who's been consistently posting content in the last 2 months. He doubled his connections in 2 months. I don't know if you guys are like Max Chan, like he posts on personal branding on LinkedIn specifically. And I coached him through it, and he's been doing really, really well. But he was trying different things. Maybe he'll talk about resume, maybe he'll talk about interviews, maybe he'll talk about careers. And then as we hone in more, it's like, okay, personal branding on LinkedIn was his thing there. Yeah. And that's what he's been like seeing results. So he's kind of to test a few things out and figure out what works for you there.
Yeah. And you know what? One last thing, sorry, before you go, Mike. Don't assume that people are not going to be interested in what you have to say. I had a student the other day, and she sent me a message after the webinar. She said, David, but I don't know, because my field is bioinformatics. So I don't know, and it's very niche. I don't know if people, I'm like, well, but like just the word bioinformatics sounds like already interesting and captivating, right? Just do it. See what traction you get, see what engagement you get. Just do it. Don't make assumptions of things that you know before you try something out.
Put yourself out there. There's a quick question I see here that I can answer quite quickly, and I think also is a good demonstration of how personal branding works, by the way. So Andrea asked, do you have any suggestions for those moving from a 3-year postdoc to the industry when you don't have industry experience? What I would say, Andrea, is that there is a guy named Eric James Stevens, #HireHireEd. I just actually released a podcast episode with him yesterday with my co-host Lisa. This guy is building a free event. It is in a couple of weeks, early August 6th and 7th. Check it out. He is helping people who are exactly like you. And the fact that I can pull that from my head that quickly and say all that information, that is what you are striving for as you build your personal brand. So that's how this works at the end of the day.
Yeah. I'm going to quickly add on to that because I've recruited as well. And for Andrea, one thing you want to do is you need to really learn the industry lingo. You need to learn the industry trends, challenges, and opportunities, understand what they're looking for, and turn an academia type of resume to a more marketing type of document. So one of the common mistakes I see in a lot of the postdoc type of resume, it's too long, too academic type of language. And so one of the biggest opportunity is for you to do some research of the type of roles you're interested in and how to make it more compelling there and less dry in the content.
Cool. There's a good question here that came up. Do we need to network only with people in our area of expertise? No.
I'm gonna tell you this from for example, from a student perspective, right? Here's what happens, right? Students, they limit themselves only to network with the people who are taking the same programs, and I think they're missing out in huge opportunities, right? If, for example, I saw this many times in the culinary tours that I had the chance to lead around the world, when we had, for the most part, chef students, right? But there were some business students who also joined, right? And through the interactions and the conversations, they found out that they could supplement each other, right? The chef students, they have the knowledge in the kitchen, like the hands-on thing, right? But they don't have the expertise on how to run a marketing campaign, how to build a business or something. And the business student had that, so they can supplement each other, right? Same thing here, right? I think you should network with whoever content or ideas or personal brand speaks to you, right? Also, we are we don't live in the time of our parents and grandparents when they graduated from school and worked in a job for 30 years, right? It's one same job for 30 years. We are changing careers constantly. People have 8, 9 different careers during their lifespan, right? So you never know. That today, for example, talking about bioinformatics, right? If I engage in their content, I'm like, what the hell is bioinformatics, right? And I like, oh my God, and it becomes a new passion of mine, right? Of course, I want to be a part of the network of that student or that person, right? So I think just like network, and again, it's not about looking for work. It's about building a relationship. It's about learning from them. It's about them learning from you, right? Again, the human connection.
It's so true. You reminded me my experience when I recruited for executive MBAs. I met with executives from various industries that I had no knowledge in at all, that I found so fascinating. And at times I'd be like, I don't know anything about their industry. Am I going to have any credibility to connect? One of what I've really learned at the end of the day is the authenticity, like showing interest in the other person and for them to show interest in you.
There you go.
And so yeah, like have an open mind, meet people. Now, from obviously the purpose of job search, like you do want to be focused with networking, but as you grow, expand your network, right? From all industries, all different professions, because you just never know when a new door may open.
Yeah. And every person is a different universe, right? And everybody has fascinating stories to share, right? So why not?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what's another question here? There was a quick question around what are the thoughts on functional resumes? I'm just going to quickly answer that. I'm not a fan of it. 90% of the resumes, 95% of resumes are mainly chronological resumes or a hybrid approach. Functional resume is a bit hard to read. It could be useful if you're looking to make a career change, but it's not really that preferred by most recruiters or employers there. Like at least 90% preferred, I would say it's like the chronological or hybrid approach there.
Yeah, for me, in an ideal world, I would like to see functional resumes, right? In an ideal world, I would love recruiters to focus more on the skill and accomplishment than in a linear work trajectory. But again, it would be very irresponsible from my end to tell people, oh yeah, like write a functional resume, because like recruiters don't like it. It's their reality, right? So I think a hybrid or maybe a hybrid, especially for example, for folks who have gaps in employment due to various reasons, maybe a hybrid document works better, and they have the chance to, to show the skill, it's more skills based, but also show like some trajectory. But unfortunately, it's not. They're not sought after in the industry. So
writing a functional resume can be a pretty good exercise, though, in terms of putting down on paper and getting really clear what is your unique value proposition, which can be fuel for things like the about section of your LinkedIn profile or just conversations that you have with people as you meet them. Yeah. So, but I hear what you're saying. It is not en vogue, as I might say, to some people in Montreal. Cool. There is a really interesting question here around kind of ageism. I'll read it out loud here. I would love to know if age is a defining factor when looking for a job, especially when you're changing careers. I'm 37. I studied law in Argentina. This is one of my biggest concerns. It's a lot of people who are starting their careers are more than 10 years younger than me. This is a big challenge for people who are making a later in life career transition.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
I get this one a lot, especially with the market I work. To be honest, like, I mean, I think I don't think it's a big concern. Like from my recruiting experience, like I never go recruit and say like, oh, this person's too old for the job. Yeah. It's more how you present yourself in terms of the information of whether you are like relevant and up to date with your skill set. I think that is more important. So I see here, Marina was studied in law. I'm not sure if you're looking to make that transition from, let's say, working at a law firm to industry. It is possible, what I want to try to say. A lot of times it is a scary change, but you need to showcase that you still have potential, that you are still up to date with what's happening in the market, and that'll showcase how your skills is transferable as well. To me, that is more important than worrying about the age. Now, to minimize the perceived years of experience or the age thing is you can remove the year that you graduated from school or remove experience that's over like 20 years old. That's how you can, to make your resume look more like current there.
Yeah. And you know what? Because in other countries, the resumes demand that you have your date of birth and that. So it's easy to discriminate, right? You don't have to do that here in North America, at least, right?
No picture, no date of birth.
Yeah, so make sure that you're if you have like 20 years of experience, try to be play the game in a smart way, right? So you just need to get the hook to go to an interview. When you go to an interview and you engage the person, right, and show their value, they're not going to care about your age, they're not going to care about your accent, they're not going to care about anything, because they will clearly see your value. You just need that opportunity to go sit down with a person or network with a person, and then the magic happens. And then you will make the magic happen, right? It
I had
happens, right? You know,
yeah.
it happens. Like ageism
Yeah.
is still like a ground for discrimination. Like it's a reality, but then that's why you have to find other avenues to overcome that challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a client many years ago. He was turning 60, about to retire from his job. He was 30 years there, but he still wanted to work for another 10 years in a different country. And he asked me how to do it. He hired me to help him like to make that jump. And he eventually made the jump to UK working in consulting. He came from the airline business. And so one of the things we really worked on, it is really that unique, his expertise, like his deep expertise, 30 years in the airline industry, positioned him well for a consulting role. However, he had to also be able to convey he was still willing to work for another 10 years, willing to travel, want to do consulting type work. So that's where the branding comes in, repositioning and branding and telling a story that you still want to work and work overseas as well. So it's possible.
So possible. And like that narrative that you're telling yourself around, you know, am I too old? Am I out of touch, et cetera, et cetera. We've revealed that there are ways of addressing all of those objections.
Yeah.
I'm just flashing back right now, probably the highest performing team of people I've ever worked with on one side of the room, there were a couple of guys who were in their early 20s. And on the other side of the room, there was one guy in his mid 60s and one guy in his early mid 70s. This is the best group of people I've ever been around in terms of what we were trying to accomplish. And the guy who is in his early 70s, I got to tell you, sharp as a knife, super in touch with everything that we were doing, full of energy. And we were in a pretty energetic field at the time. You have value and you can step into that value and realize it and live it, and other people will see it and they will just look right past the number on your birth certificate. It doesn't matter. You just power that concern down and live into the value that you bring. I know it's a big stumbling block, but it's you have a lot to offer when you bring real life experience to anything that you do. Cool.
Yeah, amazing. So someone asked if this will be a recording. Yes, we will be sending a recording later on to your email there, so don't worry.
Nice.
Totally. I'm just noticing our time here. We still have a few. Do you want to take 2-3 more questions here and then call it? I want to honor the time of our attendees as well as you both.
Yeah, I would love maybe instead of a question, like I would just love to hear even from participants, like what are their key takeaways and key learnings are from this webinar. Like for those who are here as a wrap up, what are your learnings and what kind of action like you want to take from this webinar? I think that would be a great way to wrap up, and maybe like if we can leave like a words of encouragement message instead of answering questions, that's probably a good way to
let's do it
to conclude. Yeah.
Chime in, everyone, please. I'm super excited to hear what you guys have learned from all of this.
Yeah. Key learnings, key action items. While we're waiting for that, I'm just gonna give a little pep talk here. For those who are job searching, career changing. I know it's tough. Like if I was talking about how change is hard. Change is hard at the beginning, messy in the middle, but rewarding at the end. So it is worth it. So keep in mind like why you're doing what you're doing, like why you want what you want, like stay focused with that. Know your true value, believe that you have what it takes as well. And, get back up after you had a rejection. They say that no is like your next opportunity is just around the corner as well. Right. So just keep on believing, keep pushing. That next opportunity is just around the corner there, and surround yourself with amazing people to lift you up as well.
Yeah, and embrace yourself, embrace your journey, embrace your challenge, right? Everything is a learning opportunity. And keep connecting, seriously.
This story that I once heard from a guy, I think it was a guy named Carl Richards, who writes these cartoons for, I believe it's the New York Times, maybe the Wall Street Journal. And this huge visual of being in a valley. We're going through difficult times. When we look up, as we're in a valley, we look up at the peaks of mountaintops and we notice that although they're very pretty oftentimes, sun is touching them, it's the top of the world, there's not much that's actually growing at the top of that mountain most of the time if they're really high. It's down in the valleys of our lives that we grow the most. And just because we're there now, it doesn't mean that there isn't a huge benefit to being in the position that we're in right now and seeing that journey going through the valley and then upwards eventually to the top of that mountain. It's natural for all of us, and there's a lot to be learned from it.
Yeah, so true. I love that. So I see some comments coming in, guys. Alicia said, I will dedicate 1 hour every day to my LinkedIn profile and my network here.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Make it a habit. Make it a habit.
I loved all the tips on how to network and build relationships. Great to hear. Thanks for organizing this. I'm glad that I woke up a bit earlier to listen in at 8 a.m. PST. Thank you.
So awesome. Thank you.
I like the consistency of information. It's 1.5 hours thus far, and the information is relevant. Great
Good.
to hear.
Thank you.
All right.
Always striving for that.
Yeah, it's great to know the networking skills I have are going okay. That's what's going to be my important for me. Awesome. Yes, network to get work.
That's right.
Awesome.
So cool.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us. This was so much fun. And I have to say, I really love collaborating with you guys, Mike and David.
Thank you so much.
You know, I know when we met, we're like, okay, let's just do this. Let's help job seekers, even though we serve different markets, but there's this common like thread for us that we want to serve. We're passionate and we really want to help. So really grateful that I met you guys as well. And we're going to continue to support each other on this journey in job seekers are.
Thank you so much. I had such a great time, as I always do when I collaborate with you both. Thank you, Diana, for your expertise, for your insights, and thank you, Mike, for your insights as well, and for being such a great moderator. Thank you so much.
Oh, guys, it was an amazing opportunity. You guys are true professionals. Our dear, awesome attendees who are still with us, check out the amazing folks. It's.
Thank you, everyone, for
great people are not far.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So enjoy the rest of the week, guys.
Thank you.
Take care. See you soon.
Bye.
Ciao. Bye.